The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning. I hope everybody is having a great week this week. It's a pleasure to get on this month's webinar and talk to you a little bit about the Roundtable business and some of the things that are happening within the brand. Been a very busy and active summer, I know, for so many of us, and but it's exciting to have a lot of the initiatives that we started at the beginning of the year that were at that point just ideas on paper come to fruition and start being rolled into the field. So I thought I'd start just by running through the agenda for today, keeping the agenda relatively tight. I'm going to spend a few minutes kind of running through just a little bit about our strategic pillars and some of our focus, talk a little bit about system performance. I've tried to include a couple of slides that were asked about during last month's webinar a few weeks ago to give a little bit of an update. And certainly in a webinar format, some of the updates that I'll give will be followed up with via the roundup to get a little more substantial communication out there. There's a lot of charts and facts and figures on the slides today. So sometimes we need a little follow-up on that in order to allow people to digest the information, process it, and reach back out with any questions that you might have. We'll spend a little time going through the Guest Experience Management Program, the GEM program, sharing a little bit about not only some of the things that are possible within the platform, even for you to run reports on for your own restaurant or restaurants, but also some of the initial findings that we're having out of that particular research program. And then Kristen Lynch will get on and talk a little bit about what's coming up in marketing and how sales are the effort behind driving sales. And then, of course, we'll finish up with our open forum at the end. Again, for anybody who doesn't know, best way to ask questions is using the GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar features in order to type in questions throughout the presentation. And then, as always, we'll stay here as long as we need to in order to do our best to answer those questions. So with that, let me jump right in and talk about things. As always, we remind of what our main strategic pillars are. I do look forward to coming out to the RTOA convention in really just, it's amazing how fast the time flies, but a couple of months where we're going to talk not only about the strategic pillars, but talk a little bit more about, be excited to talk to each one of you, either individually or as a group, about what the details are behind each one of these in a little more context. So very excited to be with everybody in Hawaii. Let me start off by sharing a little bit about the system results, and of course, starting off with sales. You can see the sales chart here. We've certainly seen our peaks and valleys throughout the course of this year. Flatline is certainly not something that we've seen all year long. We've certainly had our peaks and valleys. And I apologize if you couldn't see one of the slides previously. We've had our peaks and valleys, but same-store sales are continuing to be a challenge. Year to date, we are 3.3% down. The RTDC stores playing a big part of that. Franchise stores are closer to that flat mark. Neither one is where we want to be, of course, but that's the effort. It's how do we drive top-line sales? That's the key portion of those strategic pillars, and certainly something that everybody, and I know in the system, focuses on a daily basis. Just to note, the very last week, this is last week's sales, we saw a big spike in the RTDC stores. At least our comp saw a big spike, I should say. And there were really three things that hit during the same week. We took a very minor, I should say very minor, it took a minor price increase, not on all products across the board, but on a few key items. Took some strategic price. That's probably the third most impactful element of this. We launched in about 50% of the restaurants, give or take, third-party delivery. And then third, but certainly not least, all of the LSM activities, many of which we've been communicating out to the field for quite some time, all came to fruition at the same time starting last week. So we'll see if that holds. We're certainly interested in it. And a lot of the marketing activity, which had been dormant for a little bit, at least in the RTDC stores, kind of hit last week. So it was good to see an immediate pop. I will share, although I don't have a slide on it yet, we're still working on it. But even in the first week, we had stores range from anywhere from roughly $100 in third-party delivery to close to $1,000 during their first week in third-party delivery sales. So really interesting to see that spike, and we'll certainly watch that and share relevant third-party data as we get it and as we can share it. So it's exciting to see they're having a pop. So getting past the system results, I thought I'd share a little bit about development and kind of what's going on within the brand. We haven't shared this data, I think, in several months that I can recall. But I'll key upon some numbers and then just talk in general. We're seeing tremendous demand for growth. And that's coming both within the current franchisee base of operators, which is tremendous, but also from outside with new candidates coming in. New candidates coming in, both interested in acquiring existing units and are looking for growth. So we've had a number of instances which are reflected in some of the numbers. Some have yet to sign, but we fully expect them to sign, where people are acquiring new, but at the same time are signing up for additional units to continue to develop out DMA. So very excited about the demand. Anecdotally, I would say that having met with 95% of every franchise candidate who's come through the system today, the strength of the candidates coming in is really high. Strong business background, good acumen, a passion for serving guests, and very values aligned with, I think, what everybody on this webinar would say is the right makeup in order to have a chance to be successful within the business. I've had the question asked a number of different times, a number of different ways about, hey, what's the development strategy? Are you guys going to start crisscrossing the country to develop units and crisscrossing the country just to go sell deals? The answer is no. And I've addressed it before, but I'll just hit it again. All but roughly 5 agreements that have been signed this year have come in our existing geographies. We've had agreements that have been executed mainly for California, but we've had them for Washington State, we've had them for Hawaii, had them for I think we've had one in Oregon. I'm going from memory there, so forgive me. But the bulk of them, say for those 5, have come in the West Coast. North Texas, through an existing franchisee and who is now partnered with a new franchisee, are working to develop out the North Texas market, which is, as probably many of you know, a hotbed for the migration of people who are seem to be fleeing in California in droves, and a vast majority of them are moving to the North Texas region. That's the Dallas, Frisco, Austin area. So excited to see what happens there, but that is certainly a great test that we're going to properly support. And then from there, we'll gauge success and gauge our ability to take a foothold in a new market. And then from there, we would consider other areas. But for right now, as we've looked at geography, we can absolutely extend the footprint of stores we have, even within the current states that we currently serve. So there's no pressure to rapidly grow outside of our current geography, nor is there any strategy in place to try to sell deals, if you will, outside of the current geography. So we're having success as is. There's also a great deal of strong transfer activity. I mentioned that just a little bit. We really are seeing not only new franchisees coming in, but really strong operators take advantage of or acquiring some existing restaurants, perhaps in an opportunistic kind of way. So we really obviously support that. And anytime that there's a franchisee, a current franchisee who wants to make a graceful exit from the system, that's fine. Priorities in life change. Some people retire, some people move on, no problem. And we're always happy to help facilitate that as appropriate. And it's nice to see some existing franchisees looking for growth opportunities who are being put in contact with those operators who are looking to make an exit and helping them out. So in terms of the units, in terms of the actual numbers, we've got 433 units open, 359 of those being franchised. I'll spare you the math. That means 74 restaurants that are corporate restaurants. We've had 5 openings year to date. We estimate, and as many of you know who have done a new store opening, this number can fluctuate quite a bit, but conservatively, I think we estimate that we'll wind up the year at about 15. That's not 15 past the 5, it's 10 more past the 5, but somewhere in that range between 5 and 15 openings for the year is probably where we're going to net out. We may have a couple that pop beyond that, not sure, but somewhere in that range, which is really exciting to see when really the high water mark was kind of in the single digits for years past. So exciting. We've had 5 closings year to date to balance out those openings, unfortunately. On the potential side, there's 2 or 3 of those that have some potential of reopening. So obviously, we're doing whatever we can to help any restaurants that are put in a situation where they need to close, finding a new opener for those locations. We've awarded 43 agreements so far this year. In 2017 total, there were a total of 6. So certainly a lot of progress. I will tell you that roughly 85% of those, between 80 and 85% of those, as I mentioned previously, are coming from existing operators looking for growth, that's tremendous. I mean, that's certainly what we want to see. And then last but not least, the transfer number that I mentioned. We've had 14 transfers consummated thus far this year, and another 13 that are in some stage of pending or in process. So hopefully that gives just a little bit of light into kind of the overall franchise universe that we're operating in. And certainly if anybody has any questions, you can certainly reach out to me. Lisa Merrill's been a great asset in this, John Dyer, or anybody on the team. Kim Rogers, certainly, and go on from there. So let's shift gears from just the overall status of the company to a few notes and updates on maximizing unit level economics. I shared last time some of the savings that have been implemented and things that are still to come. We had a great, I thought, a really solid product development committee meeting back a couple of weeks ago where all 4 of the items on the right were discussed and shown and talked about. So more to come on those, but the Frozen Skins project is certainly moving along, and really pleased with the progress on that. So we'll see. Certainly a very testable proposition, and one that we will advance into a testing environment here in the relative short term. So with that, just a quick update on overall cost. Jennifer Iglesias, Raphael Tomlin, and the whole supply chain team just do a tremendous job of finding opportunities in order to really improve and save money in the grocery bill that comes in every single week. We saw a little bit of an uptick in movement in July versus previous months, and I just thought I'd share the 2 of the largest decliners and 2 of the largest increasers for the month of July. Meats came down a little bit due to a little bit of an oversupply. If anybody's been following the news, there's the import exports and what have you. There's been a little bit of a lack of exports of meat and other products, therefore a bit of an oversupply domestically. Personally, I would think that would probably right itself in the coming months, but that's been down a little bit. Boxes certainly have been down. Dressings up a little bit with soybean production down. Dressings have been up a little bit due to soybean prices. However, soybean prices recently have been down. So I know Jennifer and the team are expecting a bit of relief on that front in the coming months. Cheese also has picked up just a little bit, but it should maintain price throughout the month of September. So this is something that the team tracks. Obviously, every single month, we keep on sharing the data, and I'm happy to do so. Let's give a little commodity update. One of the things that came up on the last call was about the sharing of RTDC financials as had been done in the past. I'm happy to say we made some advances there in order to get something out to the system, and we'll certainly follow it up in a written communication. This is one of those that I referenced earlier that would be sent out of the roundup, but just as a glimpse, just thought I'd share what's on the screen here represents total sales. These aren't comp. This doesn't wash out new store openings or other varying factors that influence the numbers, some rather significantly. It's just simply total aggregate dollars and total aggregate dollars, total cost. So not perfect numbers, but it gives a good directional read of what's happening within the financials. You can see on here that between food, labor, and other expenses, they are all down over 2017 year to date in terms of percentage of sales. None of these have been affected by price increases. That's one thing to note. The slight price increase we took was not until the month of August. Let me get that right at the beginning part of August. So none of these numbers are affected by price. Food costs down about 1.2. Labor costs down a couple of points. Operating expenses down slightly. And then operating cash flow, obviously the converse there, being up a bit from where it was previously. So good to see these numbers. Happy to share them out with the field. We're also working on getting a better template. We're up to close to 50% of the system, a franchise system rather, that has submitted P&Ls. So we're working on culling that data for 2017 to be able to share that out as well. Lisa Merrill's kind of heading that up. So excited to get this out there to the system. If you have any questions, please do reach out. So shifting from maximizing unit level economics to enhancing the guest experience. So I want to talk just a little bit about the GEM program, or the Guest Experience Management Program, and some of our initial findings and readings on that. For those of you who attended one of our roughly 14 different regional training sessions, credit to the operations team, Steve Gibbs and Lisa's team, Mike Gleig, Angela. I mean, they all did a great job getting out there, traveling the country, along with members of our marketing team, in order to host these events. Not easy thing to go do, but certainly really helpful. And hopefully everybody walked away with a better knowledge of just what the potential and the power of the GEM program can and will do for us. There are three elements, as you heard during those meetings. One is our guest experience management in restaurant survey. So kind of the true voice of the customer surveyed about their experience that day. The second piece is what's called Inform, which is really a kind of a contact us link. So it's gone on our homepage. It's gone really everywhere we had a link in order to contact us previously. And people are submitting in comments. It's opening up a ticket. And you each should be getting these for your location. Well, if you're getting them, you should be receiving them in your inbox for your locations so that you can hear what your guests are saying. You can close out with the guests any opportunities, whether positive or negative opportunities, and keep on coaching your teams up based upon the contact from the guests. And the third component, obviously, is what's called social review, and looking at the social review sites between Twitter, Facebook, Google, TripAdvisor, what am I missing? Foursquare even. So we've got and the data in there is just absolutely tremendous. Personally, I think the most impactful thing in that section are the verbatims, really listening and reading what the guest is exactly saying in their words about the experience they receive in our restaurants. So very interesting data. On the back end, the analytics are really powerful as well for you. We've got the GEM survey, the in-restaurant GEM survey on the left, which is the dashboard that you'll see as you log into the site. And then on the other side is the commentary, where you can see all the comments about your restaurants really in real time as they come in. If you, on a side note, if you haven't already downloaded the SMG mobile app, I can tell you that I'm on it, countless times a day, checking up on the latest scores, reading almost every single comment that comes in about us. So it's a bit distracting. Some people are on social media all the time. I'm on the GEM program all the time, reading the data. I find that more interesting than what my neighbor down the street happens to have for dinner. So anyway, so if you haven't gotten that app, if you need some help getting it, let us know. Any FBC franchise business consultant should be able to help you set that up. and get on it. Take a look at what your guests are saying about you. So if you're curious as to what the guests are saying, let me give you a little view. So the big three metrics in any company that works with an SMG or a Service Manager Group program, the big three metrics are always these three: overall satisfaction, likelihood to return, and likelihood to recommend. And where these questions get driven from are the surveys that people complete after dining in the restaurant. So basically, the questions go something like this. Based upon your experience today, how overall satisfied were you with that experience? Right now, that response is giving us a 66.4 top box score. So in other words, that they rank anywhere from not very satisfied to highly satisfied. This is the percentage of people who say that they are highly satisfied with their level of satisfaction based upon their experience in the restaurant. Shift that over to how many people are likely to return, and this is where it starts getting a little concerning. We drop down in that metric to 61.9, or call it 62% of the guests are communicating that they're highly satisfied or highly likely to return based upon their experience in the store today. So yeah, they're pretty satisfied. They're really satisfied. That's what they're communicating. But slightly fewer people are communicating that they're likely to actually come back. Even fewer percentage are saying they're likely to recommend us to a friend or to anybody else, for that matter, based upon their experience in the restaurant that day. That's a very concerning number. Anything below a 70 is something to focus on. That's where the best-in-class companies are performing. The Chick-fil-A's of the world, the Firehouse Subs, the McAllister's Delis, they're all performing at 70 plus in really all metrics, or most key big three type metrics. For us to be at a 59.3% likelihood to recommend, that means that obviously 41% of the people are gun shy about recommending to us to somebody else. You might ask, why is that? How can somebody be overall highly satisfied with their experience, yet not likely to recommend? Usually, at least in my experience, having run this program previously, there's something that has happened on that visit that leads to a lack of trust. So in other words, they might be highly satisfied, but they kind of want to keep the experience to themselves and aren't comfortable because their reputation's on the line if they recommend something. And many of you, I'm sure, can think about that as it pertains to your daily life. If you had a good experience, I don't care if it's at a dry cleaner or a fancy steakhouse, unless you are highly confident that your positive experience can be replicated, you're probably not likely to put your good name on the line to recommend a location unless you are supremely confident that your neighbor, your friend, your family member will have a similar experience. But certainly something to focus on across that top line. So let me take a look. I'm going to show you a few other different insights crossed with some different ways to actually utilize the platform. So what I have on the screen right now are insights that show us our overall satisfaction, taste of food, restaurant cleanliness, and then overall value perception, but cut by self-reported frequency of ordering over the past 30 days. So essentially, the way it would play out is that if somebody communicates they've only been to us one time in the past 30 days, they're likely a very light user. 2 times, still in that light user, but getting to be more frequent. 3 and 4 times, obviously more of our heavy users. So what you see in each one of these questions here are 5 bars. The one on the left that, and I'm terrible with colors, purplish color, is the overall score for that category. So that first bar, as I just showed you, represents a 66% overall satisfaction. The orange bar, people who are saying that they've come to us only one time in the past month, they are communicating that they are around a 57% overall satisfaction. People who come 2 and 3 times a month are somewhere in the 68% range. And then the heavy users, as you might suspect, are the most satisfied, coming in about 72% overall satisfaction. So how do you use this data? One, you take a look at it and say, where do the opportunities lie? Well, it's pretty clear through this that our heavy users are fairly satisfied with both their overall satisfaction and their taste of food. Everybody drops down when it comes to the perception of cleanliness, and everybody drops down more when we look at and ask the question of how do you perceive the overall value that we are driving in the restaurant. Certainly those one time a month guests being sub 37%. That means for those people who came only one time in the past month, 63% of them were not highly satisfied with the value of their experience. So that's something to probe on and figure out how we can continue to reach out to those light, lapsed, little less frequent type users and drive some business that way. So hopefully you can see some of the insights there. I will say a lot of times value is tied to cleanliness and appearance, and I'll show a little bit more of that here coming up. Let me cut it a little bit differently. Here's an overall result spread, and you can see some of the types of measures that are on the screen. We've got some key metrics on here that are really strong, and it's great to see, and frankly, kind of not surprising. Things that are product related score really high with our consumer. Shouldn't be a shock. We've got great pizza. The reputation of our pizza is fantastic. I know we all are passionate about the pizza, and certainly our guests are communicating very similar things. So with our taste scores being about a little over a 70, order accuracy, which is nice to see actually, around a 74, the appearance of the food around a 69, so even that's pretty good. Looking at a couple of others, temperature of food is about a 67.5 as well. So the food metrics get some pretty good scores thus far in the program. Where we are showing some opportunity here is in the three areas that I've got listed. As I mentioned, the likelihood to recommend being at a 59, cleanliness coming in at 57.1, excuse me, and third being that value question at only a 45%. So let's take a look at, just quickly, take a look at two of the three of those being cleanliness and value. And as you go into the back-end reporting site, I've pulled a few quotes and some other metrics to cut that data a little differently to see if there's any insights that we can turn into actions that we can take to address. So let me start off with the data, and some of you can already jump forward and read the screen. The one in the middle there is, I find that rather comical, that fact that the restrooms in their particular location remind them of a Mexican gas station, and they haven't even been paid in 30 years, and the person runs down the street to go to the restroom. That's pretty sad. But you also see a couple of other comments there about the restaurant could be cleaner, it looks run down, could use a new look. The top comment could use a cleanup and a renovation. So we know we have some of that out in the field, and certainly the brand vision and positioning project that we're working on, the store design project, will work to give us a clean image to present to the guests, and we'll have a program to help support that. But in the moment, this is what the guest is saying. The chart on the left is fun to play with because now you can cut the data different ways. And it's interesting. So by and large, the higher the income level, the worse our cleanliness scores get. This is a household income. So you can see that first bar on the left is household income under $25,000, self-reported, by the way. The one on the far right is household income over $100,000 or more. Now, couple things to potentially take away from this. And all of this are just insights that we need to look at more, learn from, and being able to provide or produce strategies to work towards. So you can read this a lot of different ways and make your own suppositions. So obviously with the price point that we have, so if you define value as what you get versus what you pay for it, our price point, the bottom part of that equation, is obviously pretty high, and our guests communicate that. The top part, which is made up of quality of product, service, cleanliness, and overall experience, that quote-unquote what you get piece, that's the piece that we need to drive. I've been saying it since day one that I don't feel like we're overpriced. I feel like in many respects we're underexperienced for what we deliver in terms of food quality. And I think with this, we're seeing a little bit of that played out. So the more income you make with a quirky exception for this $75,000 to $100,000 range, the more crucial cleanliness becomes. And certainly, in order to get frequency of use at a higher price point, some of those higher income households have to be within our target range. So we can look at this and say, well, it is what it is. Or you can say, hey, all right, what do we need to do in store to improve the overall look and feel of the restaurants, which would make it more attractive for the guests to come in? Certainly, remodels are a part of that. But even short of that, there's things we can do today. If you look at the comments that are coming in on the page, what you also see is a lot of comments about restrooms, a lot of comments about sticky tables, a lot of comments about tables not being bussed in a timely manner, and things of that nature. Basically, the long and the short, things that are absolutely within our control today in order to positively affect and change the perception of cleanliness within the restaurants. So take a look at your own scores, and it's very easy for you to look at all your own comments, see what people are saying about you. We all have opportunity. There is obviously no such thing as a perfect restaurant visit, and there's always opportunities to get cleaner. We just got to listen to the guest and pay attention to what they're saying. Next one up talks about value. And you can see here that we have opportunity when it comes to value. I already said before that we are at a 45. We're at a 45 overall score. And you can see on the graph on the left those metrics that drive that down and some other metrics that are pulling that up. So the way to look at this chart is that the red line in the middle is the overall value score that we're getting, which is that 45%. What this is saying is based upon somebody's self-declared main reason for ordering from Round Table that day, how satisfied were they with the overall value that they received. So it's interesting. So the things that are above that median overall value line are people who came in with a gift or the gift card and coupons, basically people who got a discount or kind of right at that score. People who came in excited about an advertisement or a promotion, they got a little extra value. People who came in based upon a recommendation. So perhaps somebody who already set somebody's mindset that they were going to have a good experience, they scored us higher. Then you see the people who had a previous positive experience, people who read a positive review online, had a huge, who reported a great perception of value. And then finally, the biggest group is people who came in because they were expecting a desirable atmosphere, ranked us hugely high. So on the flip side of that is people who came in for just to get a specific menu item, people who came in just because the location was convenient, people who came in who they weren't the ones deciding, it wasn't really their choice. Maybe they came in as a part of a ball team or a friend who was trying to meet them there. They reported the lowest, that 31% value score. So it's interesting. You look at the desirable atmosphere. One of the things you can do that we will do with this data is say, all right, which of our stores are getting the highest, are driving that the most? So perhaps, is it Clubhouse stores? Is it stores that have been remodeled in the past couple of years? We can cut that data differently, and we will cut that data differently to start taking a look to see if we can find value behind some of these numbers. But it's interesting data, to say the least, to see how these scores come in. Looking at a couple of the comments that have come in regarding value, especially as it relates to price, it just seems average, not especially special. You have the best tasting pizza in town. However, you also have the highest price. I would buy your pizza more often. It wasn't so expensive. Well, some of these are kind of predictable, right? If we were less expensive, I'd come more often. That's great. But the third one's kind of telling. Prices are kind of high. Atmosphere is lacking. there are good sports games on the TV, but should have good music playing. Portion sizes could be larger. So good feedback all along the way. And again, just showing some of the power of doing this program. One of the other ways is to recognize some top performers. So if we cut all the data and look at who the top performers are, the ones on the left obviously are just by region. So you look at Washington, Lance, Paul Barbano, the whole team up in Washington State's rocking and rolling so far to 71.5% overall satisfaction. Central Cal, all the way down to the Oregon market, pulling up at 62.4. So you can see sort of the spectrum of performance. Interestingly, Washington is one of those markets. Yes, they had media this year versus none last, but one of those markets that's performing some of the best in terms of same-store sales. Oregon, on the flip side, is struggling. So interesting. Is it a direct correlation? Don't know that we can say that. There's lots of factors that drive that, but certainly it's one more data point that we can certainly take a look at. And I also thought if you see your store on the right-hand side here, I know there's a lot of franchise restaurants represented. These are people who have a decent number of responses already in, and then their commensurate overall satisfaction scores. So for congratulations to the University of Play Store, I think they have roughly 20 responses, and that's a really solid number. If you get 100% of your guests communicating that they're highly satisfied, that is rocking. Right on down through, I'm sure that's Cisco Redding. 93%, that's basically all but one. That's phenomenal results right there. And for some really good operators. Last but not least on the GEM performance, one of the other attributes of the program that we're putting out in the roundup each week, Lisa Merrill's doing a great job with this, is really just sharing some celebration alerts. Because sure, we absolutely look at the opportunities we have in order to be better, but at the same time, it's probably as important, if not more so, to keep recognizing people who are delivering on the overall brand expected experience. And you've got some great ones here. Just picking one at random. Debbie always greets us. This is from Fort Bragg, South Main, store 320. Debbie always greets us in a friendly manner, making us feel welcome, and she is helpful with whatever we may need. We are always happy to see Debbie when we visit this restaurant because we know we will get excellent service. Love that. That's a roundtable experience right there. And looking at another, obviously recognizing a young person over in the Folsom store, Riley Street, recognizing this guy, Ryan. Ryan is not only the most professional employee I've ever known in Roundtable, but one of the kindest. I hope this job is a springboard for future opportunities he hopes to accomplish in the future. So just really great feedback that we're really pleased to be able to share out with the system on a weekly basis. And hopefully you all are taking a look at this and recognizing some of these employees. Over the course of time, are we interested in creating a reward and recognition program to more properly and more formally recognize some of these folks? Absolutely. Not quite there today, but we're certainly working towards that. So lots of information there about the GEM program, how to use it, so on and so forth. And I really just would implore each one of you, if you haven't already spent time mining the data for your store or group of stores, it's a very powerful tool that you all have access to. So happy to answer anybody's questions on that if you want to reach out to me. So with that, we will transition from enhancing guest experience up to really helping to answer that question of what can we do to, excuse me, to drive top line sales and really address that same store sales figure that I shared before. So let me unmute Kristen Lynch, who will take it from here. So 1 second, Kristen. Kristen, you there?
I am. Thank you, Jeff, and good morning, everybody. You flipped. There you go. All right, so on this first slide, it has been asked a few times to share a marketing calendar with upcoming activity, and therefore I showed this marketing plan, the back half from August to December in the last webinar, and I will continue to show this overall calendar, which depicts both national and local activation on any upcoming webinars. So today I'll be discussing a few of these items in detail on the upcoming slides, specifically for national activation, I'll be showing the upcoming TV media schedule for the remainder of August and specifically going into September. For local activation, I'll be talking about DraftKings and the Roundtable Pepsi Fantasy Football Throwdown, which you could see down under partnerships. And then finally, at the very bottom of this calendar, I'll be discussing in detail the Global Franchise Group Fight for the Fight pinup campaign with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, LLS. So if you flip to the next slide, one more. I wanted to start with a couple of slides around the year-to-date media highlights from our media agency, MGH. So first, TV media, and this slide is showing a number of different things that we've improved upon versus last year. First, the coverage of more markets. 21 out of 23 markets now with TV, and that is a 90% increase year over year in TV market coverage. Next, the coverage of more stores. So we are covering 436 out of 439 stores with our TV buy. More TV weeks. We're up 36% year over year in average number of TV weeks. And MGH has really done an amazing job for us of getting lower and more efficient costs on all of our TV buys, as well as increasing in our Hispanic market coverage. So in specific markets where it makes sense for us to have Hispanic or Spanish-speaking TV commercials, we have that translation for those markets. On the next slide, a third-party vendor actually conducted a one-week analysis across all social channels, and Roundtable Pizza ranked number 4 among the top pizza chains. And this chart is showing you that we have 307,000 consumers engaging with our Roundtable Pizza brand, compared to some of the big folks like Papa John's, who we're beating, and Domino's, Pizza Hut, and Little Caesars. This is very exciting because our followers and fans across the social channels continue to increase. So Facebook, we have 241,000 followers, and Instagram continues to grow with 13.9 thousand followers. And from this chart, we're seeing that we're not just getting the followers or the fans, but they are engaging with the brand, and we are doing it just as well as these other top pizza chains. On the next slide, all of our efforts across TV, digital, and social media have resulted in 35% of an increase year over year in website traffic, and the website specifically being roundtablepizza.com. This is also 1.8 million new sessions. So a session is not necessarily a new visitor, but it is a combination of new and repeat visitors that, like I mentioned, TV, digital, and social efforts are all driving those consumers to roundtablepizza.com, obviously to make a purchase. So that was a little bit of highlights. On the next slide, we'll actually focus on what's upcoming. So on the left-hand side, you'll see a chart specifically for August and September, the TV media schedule. And this is showing, like I said, August, which is the end of Motorcade, our Motorcade TV spot, which will end on August 20th, and September, which is the beginning of the Conference Room TV spot, starting on September 16th and running through December 10th. During the next webinar, I will share a chart that looks very similar to this and share that TV media schedule for Q4, including October, November, and December. On the right-hand side, this is showcasing where to watch. So if you are in the mood to watch TV and pick a specific show and be able to see our Roundtable Pizza TV spots, upcoming, you'll see it on the CMA Music Festival. You'll see it if you're watching the Emmy Awards and the red carpet activity on September 17th. And if you're watching football, both college and the NFL, you will also see our Roundtable TV spots. Or if you're watching Ellen or Dr. Oz or Jeopardy or Wheel of Fortune, you'll probably see a Roundtable TV spot on those shows as well. The next couple of slides, I'll actually talk to you about local activation with a DraftKings program that we're very excited about. The promotion dates is September 3rd through November 11th. Participating stores, right now we have 277 stores participating, so thank you all for those that have signed up for this program. It's going to be great with that number of stores. If your store was selling 20-ounce bottles, this is a specific note that I wanted to make sure you guys were aware of. If your store was selling 20-ounce bottles prior to the DraftKings promotion announcement, your store is automatically opted into the promotion. So more details about the overall DraftKings program and what it means for those participating stores will actually be sent out in an email through the Marketing Execution Guide or the MEG. You will get all of the detail. Here you can actually see what the offer is, and I will let you read the offer, but I wanted to point out one thing specific to the offer. You will see that the offer includes both 20-ounce bottles and fountain products. Because our 20-ounce bottles are not sold for dine-in consumption, we are offering 2 fountain drinks that can be selected as part of the overall bundle offer for dine-in only. So for a customer to be part of the program, the offer is to purchase a large specialty pizza and any 2 Pepsi 20-ounce bottles, but like I mentioned, the fountain piece for dine-in only as well. On this next slide that Jeff has pulled up is the POP that you'll get for your in-store merchandising. All of the stores should be receiving the POP by August 30th, and I ask that all of the POP be up in store by September 1st. The promotion actually launches on September 3rd, like I mentioned. We'll have media and PR. There will be a press release going out. There'll be digital and social media efforts, not only from Roundtable Pizza, but also DraftKings. And there will be email blasts, both from the Roundtable Pizza database as well as the DraftKings database. So a lot of new consumers finding out about the program via DraftKings. If you have any questions after you've seen all the material about DraftKings, please feel free to reach out to Katie Toms. She is leading this overall from the Roundtable Pizza side. The final slide on DraftKings is specifically a Pepsi special promotion that they are offering during the DraftKings window. And this is buy 4 cases of 20-ounce bottled beverages and get 1 free of that 20-ounce Pepsi bottles. The offer is only valid through the DraftKings promotion period, which again is September 3rd through November 11th, and 10 cases is the minimum to be purchased. If you do want to do this, take advantage of this opportunity, contact the PepsiCo call center, which is outlined here, and provide the information such as a customer number or the location address. If you do not carry 20-ounce products, you won't be able to participate in this special promotion. It is specific to the 20-ounce product. The other part of this is a 4-pack carrier opt-in. You can opt in to pay and receive a case of the 4-pack carrier, which you'll see a image here on the bottom. It's 92 cents per carrier. You'll get 200 carriers per case. It's available through Saladino's or Harbor Wholesale. You can use it as a display, and you can continue to use this as a display after DraftKings is over because it is only co-branded Roundtable Pizza and Pepsi products. It does not have the DraftKings logo on it. Now, jumping into additional local activation, like I mentioned, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society Bite for the Fight campaign, which is an overall global franchise group campaign. This is the 7th year that Global Franchise Group is proud to raise funds through the in-store pinup campaign. To date, GFG has proudly raised more than $2.1 million for LLS. And with your participation, we hope to exceed our 2018 goal of $500,000. On this slide, you will see key dates. So the week of August 1st, which obviously is past, all the marketing materials should have arrived in your locations from LLS. Monday, August 13th, which just passed, in the roundup, we had a marketing execution guide with more detail, which I'm also walking you through now. Yesterday, August 15th, the pinup campaign actually began, and you all hopefully saw an email go out from Jen Johnston exciting everybody to be participating in this program. And the LLS pinup campaign ends on Monday, October 15th. The final thing to note is Thursday, November 15th, is when all the donation funds are actually due to LLS. So if nothing else, remember these key dates that are upcoming. Obviously, the program started yesterday, when it ends, and when the funds are due. So a little bit more on the program details on the next slide. Like I just mentioned, the campaign dates, starting yesterday, August 15th, running through October 15th. What we have seen in the past, the most successful operators have done the following tactics within their stores. First, conducting a kickoff meeting. You can utilize, if you haven't done this already, an existing meeting to discuss the marketing execution guide details with your team. That will really get them excited about the program, as well as getting them prepared to communicate with the customers. Accept help from your local LLS chapter. An LLS local chapter representative is going to be reaching out continually throughout the length of the campaign to see if you need anything. So please take them up on that, ask them up on that, and ask them for help. They've done this a number of times and can really help give you guidance and anything that you might need. Place the paper pinups at the registers so that your employees are aware of them and customers are seeing them, and also make sure you're posting the support materials around the store. Have your employees ask customers to help end cancer and make a donation. The donation script is easy. Would you like to donate $1 or $5 to help end cancer? That's it. That's the donation script. And then finally, hang up the paper pinups in front of the store to create an exciting visual display. Our sister brand, Marble Slab Creamery, you can see this visual on the right-hand side. This is a display of the pinups that they've done in the past, and it really does get customers excited and asking questions. The final thing, if you need more pinups throughout this campaign, please make sure you reach out to Dina Yanni at LLS. She's going to be a key contact for you for any materials. And speaking of materials, on the next slide, the promotional kit should or does contain everything that you need to get started. And you should have received these the week of August 1st. So if you did not receive a kit, please contact Dina. She'll be able to get you the pinup signs, the donated stickers, as well as a sales poster, which are shown here. So if you haven't, like I said, received this kit, please let Dina know, and she will be able to get you everything, because these are the key elements to make this program a success. And the final piece of the program on the next slide is the incentives for the stores and the employees. As you can see here, there are a number of different incentives. First, the top 5 fundraising stores. This is Round Table Pizza franchise locations only. So you are competing amongst yourself. So the top 5 fundraising stores will get a $10 Visa gift card for all crew members. Next, the top 5 store managers of top fundraising stores by all Global Franchise Group brands. So all the Global Franchise Group brands, the top 5 store managers will be entered to win, and they can win a $350 Visa gift card. Only one winner for all the GFG brands. Next, the top fundraising store for Round Table Pizza. So again, competing amongst yourselves within Roundtable Pizza, the grand prize package includes a $500 Visa gift card and a $1,000 cash prize. Finally, the 2018 LLS champion. Whomever out of all of the Global Franchise Group brands will be presented as the top fundraiser at the 2019 GFG conference in Puerto Rico, as well as being invited to attend the President's Club trip in an exciting destination that will be shared in the future as this program continues. Some key things to note. To qualify for prizes, stores must submit their funds by November 15th, which was in the key dates that I mentioned earlier, and stores must reach a minimum of $750 in in-store fundraising. After all of the things that I just communicated, as well as the marketing execution guide, if you have any questions about the LLS program, the pinup program itself, please feel free to contact Erin Walter. She is your Roundtable Pizza representative for LLS and can help you understand, give you more guidance on any of the aspects of the program. And I believe that was my last slide, Jeff.
All right. Thanks, Christian. I appreciate it. So, yeah, if everybody can get behind LLS, it's a great cause. It's easy to execute, easy to put in place, and the more money we can raise, obviously, the better. So, just before we shift over to Q&A, just a couple of reminders of upcoming events. The next system webinar, we're going to cover off and have prepared a few different topics just to give a little teaser for that one. That's September 13th. We'll talk a little bit about technology roadmap and a test that we're undertaking there. Talk about a little about the product development pipeline and some of the initiatives around product development. And then some other strategic brand work that we've been working on. So that's all upcoming in September, just to tease that. If it didn't need teasing already, the RTUA meeting in Hawaii coming up, I think that one's pretty well known. The convention coming up October 14th through the 18th. Certainly could pick a worse place to do that, and on the lovely island of Kauai. So I know I'm personally looking forward to that. And the GFG Global Conference, as has been communicated out through the roundup a couple of times, coming up May 6th through 10th down in Puerto Rico. And yes, the resort where that is being held has been rebuilt. Nothing to worry about there. I know the island obviously was devastated during the hurricane season last year, but this particular property is in great shape, and it's supposed to be beautiful. So, as I'm sure the Marriott is in Kauai. So, anyways, just covering off on that, making sure those are always top of mind elements. And then certainly last but not least, we're going to try to open it up to any questions that people have. So, Christian, I've got you still on the line while I pull these questions up. So give me just a moment. All right, so let's start at the top here. Worked on a couple. Just read the question. With the GEM score showing lack of cleanliness and lack of value perception by customers, what is GFG's plan to evaluate and influence this? In the past, there were audits and franchisor visits that identified these areas of opportunities and initiated plans for improvement. So great question, Mike. Yeah, so there's a couple of different things. So first of all, I think awareness is a key. And in other words, so the more we talk about and give data that supports where the guests are communicating that cleanliness perception, and truthfully, it doesn't really matter whether it's real or perceived. Anytime somebody perceives something to be unclean, then, well, it is. So we've got to address that. So awareness is number one. Number two is certainly as we, actually, I did include a slide, so forgive me, but we just hired an additional franchise business consultant. Lisa, I'm stealing your thunder. I'm sure that communication will go out shortly. The individual starts next week. And Lisa, you can yell at me if that's not correct, but I think he starts on Monday. Really good guy, so that adds to our team. So within our FBC group, that's certainly another point of contact to help identify opportunities. And yes, as you referenced before, whether it's audits, we're looking at a couple of different pathways to go down to help create that accountability as well around auditing restaurants, identifying opportunities, and then, yes, of course, putting together plans, time-bound plans to improve. So you're right on track. We're thinking the same thing, and I think I think we'll see some improvement. So the next question. Somebody had a question of what is the sales result year-over-year of all the increased TV and social media marketing support system-wide and by market? Great question. Totally appropriate to share. I don't have that in front of me at the moment, but we will certainly make a note and try to communicate that out in very short order. So apologize, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but we can certainly share that. Another question about are the numbers that were shared on the P&L off of net revenue or gross? I will go back. We've looked at it both ways for different reasons. From an efficiency standpoint and a measure of consistent efficiency from store to store, we look at it as gross, and I believe that's on the spreadsheet that I had up on the screen. But yes, this particular person, we looked at it both ways. So on the screen, I'm quite sure that was off of gross. And those are the 3 questions we've had typed in. So either we are extraordinarily thorough with our content today, or people are holding back from asking questions. So I don't want to take up people's time. We are already past 10 o'clock on the West Coast, but I will give it just another few seconds, and otherwise we will wrap things up. But just while we're waiting for questions, again, if anybody has any thoughts to share offline, I'm certainly available, and I'm more than happy to field the phone call or take an email, and I look forward to connecting. Yeah, so that's all the questions I got. I got 3 questions. So, all right, with that, we are at our time mark. So I say a great big thank you for all those attendees, and I look forward to seeing everybody in the coming weeks. So have a great afternoon. Take care. Bye-bye.